Welcome back, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. We learned from the first session the severity of the marine debris issue and its presence in every corner of the ocean. Dealing with this problem therefore requires all parties concerned to collaborate at every level, so they work together in the same direction. In this session, we will conduct a workshop to draft a proposal for marine debris reduction in Asia and Europe as the outcome of this meeting. It is the first inter-regional common initiative for dealing with the marine debris problem by incorporating all regional best practices into a single proposal. Today's workshop will be moderated by Dr. Thorn Thamrong Assistant Professor and Faculty of Fisheries, Kasetsart University. And also joining the workshop are expert discussants from many fields on international organizations aspect. We have Mr. Pet Manuprawit from the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Ms. Maria Chiara Femiano from the delegation of the European Union to Thailand. On legal aspect, we have Dr. Napan Popathanachai from Faculty of Law, Thammasat University. And on NGOs aspect, we have Mr. Natawut Gasem from the Environment Justice Foundation. Please welcome all of the panelists onto the stage. During the workshop, if any participant would like to give comments or any question, please feel free to go to the microphone. And now, Dr. Thorn, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Sorry about my English. As you listen to the very well English all the time, I'm the marine biologist, so my English is really poor. I know fish more than English, something like that. So, but make it comfortable around that. Around us, this workshop would like to go step forward. I'm joined the first. I'm the one that try to push government, Thai government, right now to start the first marine debris workshop, national workshop in Thailand last year. I worked for this campaign for many years, and then we succeeded in a national workshop last year, and we go to the ASEM together with Department of Marine and Coastal Resources at Phuket, and now we go to here, Asia Pacific. Asia Europe. So we are very step forward in the last 1.5 years. We go very far. And every time that we have an outcome from the workshop, we give it to the Thai government, and they're really concerned about this issue. Now our Prime Minister are very serious about marine debris, and as myself is a National Reform Committee and also National Strategic Policy Committee, also 20-year plan. 6% like that. So I guarantee you that anything that you contribute will be in our national plan. We will join together and we will help at least one whale, pilot whale, to survive from our plastic that we will bring out. Around myself, there are a lot of very keen people, and also you can notice this sheet in front of you. This is something that if you would like to put some idea on what in your country that working on or whatever, put in it. We will try to follow your step, and we will try to enhance the way that it's worked in your country, in Europe, or even in other Asia country. If you have anything, you just write it down. We have the plan that we separate in 3 sections, like a SPS. The first S column is a source, how we can deal with reduce the plastic, beat the plastic pollution at the first hand. We have the path, go along the way down to the sea, how you can block the plastic, not go down to the sea. And then we have the sea, how we can get the plastic back from the sea to do the rematerial or whatever. So if you have any idea, please, it will help. not only in Thailand or Asia, it will help the world together because all the ocean connected together. Our plastic here will go to Bergen in a few years. So please help us together. Okay. So now we go to our session. We have Mr. Pet. He worked very hard for the IUCN and for Thai people in order to put some campaign or some idea from all around the world to work on to show the Thai people that what is the world trend, what are working on the world, why they are working on that, and why people in Thailand or in Asia don't do something like that, good idea, something like this. So, and he is very concerned about the endangered marine species. He worked for IUCN for many years, like for saving the whale, the dolphin. And also we have Miss Maria from very beautiful country of Italy that I really like it. I have been there many times. So she will show us what happened in Europe. What is the way how to go, and what is the serious problem in Europe and the policy and whatever that can go together. And also we have Professor Dr. Naporn, who work on the marine policy, international policy, and cross, and also the logistics that will show that for the anything that connect to the international law and whatever that we can go along, how the Thailand and Asia can develop our idea and join the world by the international law and policy. That's very important. And at last we have Kun Nathawood, that is from NGO, and also he very keen on fishery. IUU and anything that the fishery can join the part of our reducing the marine debris and managing the problem. So I just try to let everybody talk first, and then we listen, and then if we have any information or any would like to join or any question or anything, you can ask them, and we will go together. Oh, you have a little boy together. Say hi. It's your world now. It's not my world. I'm more. You don't look other way. I mean you are the youngest. Youngest man in this room. It's not my work. I'm more than 50. I work on marine science. I try to encourage everybody for 20 and 30 years. So in the next 8 years, I will retire. Go to Europe and Norway. I like Norway. I just came back from Norway. So drive around Norway. So it's your world. If you're not concerned, it's your world. It's your problem. So please help our children. Try to give them the best, the beautiful world that we can. Money means nothing if all the oceans are filled with plastic more than fish. Money cannot. I think that if we continue like that, this for 30 or 40 years, money might not be able to buy fish or something like that. It's a very serious problem. So please give the beautiful world to that man. Okay, let's begin with some short cinema from Pet.
Thank you, thank you, Chanthon, for inviting me to join the panel, and also I'd like to make some small correction, because I think I found that I have left IUCN, and now I think I got promoted to be head of Southeast Asia according to your program. So I was actually a deputy of IUCN Southeast Asia, but I have left to go back to university trying to finish my long overdue PhD. And at the same time also I like to show you something that I have started as well. So it's an environmental enterprise that trying to drive public awareness, and also doing some action under the name Reef. So I like to give you an overview again about the problem, and also some of the solution. And I think actually some of the movement that already happening in Thailand, and I think it's same everywhere now. You know, the plastic is very high on agenda, but then you look across Bangkok, I mean, plastic is everywhere, and it's something that has been highlighted time and time again about how people addicted to the plastic. So starting with this, I think, when you're talking about plastic, it's an old, it's an old environmental problem, and I think most people are aware of the problem, but in order to move to the next step, in order to act something, it takes some, I think, personal connection. And the case of pilot whale that died in Thailand, although with a number of people trying to rescue, and at the end it showed that in the stomach it's just full of plastic bags. It's really shocked people. And I think it caught attention around the world, but I mean it's not unique because we found this new kind of time and time again. But I just want to highlight that the whale, the dolphin, the marine species is really a true victim of our addiction to plastic, and the pilot whale case really grabbed attention and also help bringing some of this important issue to public discussion. So this is an article also I wrote in a magazine, and I think it has been shared widely in terms of why we are coming to this point, why we are poisoning our ocean, why we are killing our marine endangered species who has nothing to do with all this plastic. I mean, I look across the room, actually there's so many experts on this issue, so I don't think I need to repeat so often about the problem of marine plastic, and also you heard already some of the overview this morning. But I think the trend is definitely, you see this exponential growth, and basically more economic growth, more GDPs mean more plastic production. We see this time and time again. And I think the key problem of the plastic is that although it can be recycled, but the fact, and I think it is the fact all over the world, is that such a small percentage now got recycled. So even if you use the plastic bottle, you feel that, oh, it's going to get recycled, but actually there's still a very big leakage in terms of the system, how to capture the plastic that's supposed to be recycled effectively. So that's some of the key issues. And you see that now, we have produced about 8 billion tons of plastic. And I think the fact that most of those plastics still in environment, that's a shocking revelation, so that's a huge amount of petroleum that basically spill in our ocean. Some of the key issues as well in terms of how it gets leaked to the ocean. So the river system, I think there's some paper that show only 10 rivers that are accountable for about 80% of marine debris. So that also highlighting some of the hotspots that we should be addressing as well. And so Dr. Thon asked me to highlight some of the impact, and again, I like to link to the marine endangered species. I think that's a true ambassador of this plastic problem. And if you look around, it's not only well-known species that suffer from plastic pollution, but there's a review of the marine species that get affected by marine plastic, and they found over 700 species, big and small. And so it's not just the charismatic species that we have seen and we are worried about, the sea turtle, the whale, the dolphin, but also fish, also the small creature also suffer from microplastic ingestion as well. It's also a fairly new paper, just this year whale and shark that are increasingly impacted by microplastic. So it's not just the large entanglement that result in the death and high mortality of this species, but microplastic that accumulate in this species because they are top in the food chain, so they are likely to have a severe impact in terms of their life cycle and also their biology. Whale shark, for example, basically they are just like a filter water machine that are sifting through the ocean, and you imagine that how contaminated now the marine ocean is. So basically they just suck it all in terms of marine plastic. And Also this study that made headline around the world as well, the impact of plastic to coral reef, something that you might not kind of link it directly, but also this major study have some data from Thailand as well collected and got out. So they're looking at the coral reef in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Australia, and in Myanmar, and they found that the coral reef that has contaminated by plastic has the likelihood of get coral diseases more than normal 20 times. And also the accumulation of marine plastic in the coral reef in this region are very alarming. So they did something so disconnected, but it still have a very high impact to the system. And when you think about how much coral reef mean for the local economy, you have to do the math, and actually I think Thailand, according to the recent paper, also have about 80 billion baht a year from the coral reef tourism alone. So you see that if it gets affected by plastic, it's going to be a huge issue as well. And again, I mean, it's not in Thailand or in region, but there's a major study looking at the contamination of microplastic in tap water, and they found it so widespread and it's very worrying. Basically, wherever they collect the sample, they found very high contamination, even if, ironically, like in the EPA building, Environmental Protection Agency building in the US, the agency is supposed to very high restriction and high environmental standard, also found very high contamination of microplastic in their tap water. Salt, I mean, everybody eats salt, right? I mean, we use it in cooking, and also the study major also find that it very high contamination of microplastic in sea salt as well. And it's not hard to imagine, because if microplastic found in the ocean, so we make salt from the seawater, so it basically, it's just what we put in the ocean is coming back to us in various forms. And I think that is even more scary than, that's a very nice public commercial by Department of Environmental Promotion in Thailand, just launched this year. Basically, people doing sushi using the plastic sheet and then give it to people. And then people eat it and then get furious about why you are feeding us, the plastic bag, you're so irresponsible, it is so bad. But actually that's happening, without our knowing. I think that's even more scary. So it's very nice, and I mean, Thai government recently had done a very good, I think, public education about the problem of plastic pollution. Again, this is Antarctic krill, so it's a very species that down in the food chain, so the scientists found that it can digest plastic, but actually it's not good news at all, so it's turned microplastic into nano. It's just getting smaller, easier to pass on to the bigger species. It accumulates in the food chain, and so human as a one sitting on the top of food chain, getting it all back. So you said, oh, it's contaminating in tap water, then I just, from now on, I'm just going to drink bottled water, it's safer. But actually it's not, and actually the rate of contamination of bottled water is actually higher than tap water, believe it or not. So in many major brands found the contamination, and I think this sample is also in developed countries, so it's not just in the country that maybe not have a proper facility at all.
So we serve you a glass one.
Have some microplastic. I think one of the major issues is that it is not just the issue about environmental problem, so it's not just about whale and dolphin are dying, but it's hurting economic as well. I mentioned about coral reef dying from plastic, and that indirectly hurting the local economy, but also the cost of not doing anything to solve the problem also very high. UN Environment estimate that the damage to the marine ecosystem worth about $13 billion every year. So it is a few years old data, so it might even higher now. Okay. Now we're going to shift to, I think everybody aware about the problem. I mean, some people realize more than others, but I think the fact that we come together now, the issue that Ajahn Thorn said, in Thailand also very active. We have the national workshop trying to draft the roadmap. We have an ASEAN seminar, and now also having exchange with the European delegate trying to find the best practices. There's some framework that we can try to address. I basically stole a slide from Jenna Jenbeck, who's speaking in Vietnam. I think it is a framework that she put together. So Jenna is the one who wrote a paper that ranked the country who basically the #1 marine polluter in terms of plastic. I mean, her paper got questioned a lot in terms of accuracy, the source of the data, but I think nevertheless, I think it's really a wake-up call for all the country about who are doing better or worse in terms of managing their plastic pollution and marine debris. And I think it is if we put in plain language, so you can try to address it from many different angles, from plastic pollution, from plastic production. And I think today we have 2 top plastic producers in Thailand also sitting in the room. I think it's also up to them in terms of redesign their thinking in terms of how to capture the leakage of plastic. But at the same time, material design, so there's a way to do it. And I think one of the key things is also that we're trying to drive it reduction, right? Because almost half of the plastic that become the problem is a single-use plastic. And it's so unnecessary. And so I'm going to move to the next thing about the movement that's happening now and what we're trying to drive public here in Thailand to change their behavior. Some materials, so definitely I think it is in line with European Union that also now I think have tried to set the target on banning some of the single-use plastic, something so available in our daily life. We're so used to it, right? So the plastic bag, the plastic bottle, the plastic cup, the straw, and all this now actually there's alternative. So now I'm going to move on to my environmental enterprise. So I found it actually about a year ago under the name Rebreathe, and we starting the campaign about the plastic straw, and we're trying to start working with cafe and restaurant because it is something that you can change. We see there's a movement in many countries, in the US, in Australia, in Europe, about the unnecessary of plastic straw. So we actually Reef, the name is come from coral reef, and we started with the develop reef safe sunscreen. So that's why we stuck with the name, but also we want to link that the coral reef representing one of the most vulnerable ecosystems that affected by global warming, affected by the plastic, affected by the wastewater. So actually it's quite a nice representative from danger that suffer from human development. And so with under Reef, we also drive information about the impact of plastic. And again, I like to highlight, so we drive it to social media, with same with Ajahn Thorn, so effective at public communication. So we drive public opinion in terms of the problem. And you can see that this post about, so actually it's not just whale that died because of plastic, After that pilot whale, about 2 weeks, or I think in the same week, we also found another juvenile green turtle that become sick and die. And when they did the necropsy in the stomach, it's just full of plastic. So it's not just the whale, and the simple post like this can reach more than 2 million people, at free of charge cost. So it is a very effective public awareness raising. And I just want to highlight that because of endangered species like whale and turtle are so connected to people, I think it made people realize that how day-to-day behavior can have such an impact to the species that's so vulnerable. We also develop things like the short brief about single-use plastic, the 8 type that actually your life can live without. And it also reached more than 1 billion people. And if we have time, maybe.
Oh, you don't have.
I don't have time. Okay. You can check it out about type 2-minute video about the 8 type of single-use plastic that you don't need to have. Again, so this kind of media post is very effective in reaching out, and I think it helps build momentum for the cafe and restaurant to join your movement. So the question about like just one straw, so what, right? But then because we have 8 billion of us, if only every one of us think like that, that's a huge problem. And I think that the problem with single-use plastic. And so this is the Green Cafe Network that we found. So far we have about 50 cafe and restaurants now around Thailand, some hotel also joining. So we produce some of the poster that the restaurant can put it up and communicate with customers. Because we think that in the cafe and restaurant actually is also a community in itself as well. You have the customer who come through regularly. So if they get some sort of messages about the thing that they use, the thing that they consume, they also start thinking about how they can change behavior. Things like the water refill station, we've been campaigning about people carry their own bottle, but where to fill the water, so that's a problem. To buy the plastic bottle and then pour it in your bottle, it just doesn't make sense. So we hope that this restaurant can also start to act as a water refill station. People can come in, can refill their water at maybe minimum charge 2 baht, 3 baht or something. And you see some of the cafe, like the locals, also start to encourage people, like giving a huge discount, 10 baht, or some campaign 2 months, like Doi Tung Cafe, is a local cafe brand, also do this. Some of our members also start changing altogether, so they dish off the plastic straw, start to use alternative like stainless or glass straw. Some even more innovative, use banana leaf to make straw. Some use lemongrass. I think lemongrass is quite common. You can use it widely. Some bring about all innovation. Just use the bowl, right, instead of the plastic cup. So once you encourage people to join the movement, I think you start to see people can be quite creative, to find solution. Okay. And you see the movement as well in terms of global brand, right? The KFC last month announced in Singapore that they're going to stop using plastic straw. The Hilton, the Accor, the Marriott, so all these brands like Starbucks also. We have to wait and see, because some of these big companies also like to make announcements and then get applaud, but we have to see whether they're gonna follow through their commitment. The zero waste lifestyle, right? The plastic-free lifestyle. Some people think, it's just a very small group of people, but actually it's growing trend. People realize that they actually, this problem is just not up to the government, but people can start doing something instead of waiting for the law to be passed to start charging plastic back, but they already can change their behavior right away. Okay, Ajahn Thorn said time's up. The last thing that I like to see, which I think going to send to Marianne, is also the plastic bag levy. So this is some of the lesson that we trying also to promote, that okay, consumer public can do certain things, but if you want to change behavior at large, at so many people, we found that economic incentive, economic instrument is actually one of the most effective measures. So we've been also really trying to promote the plastic bag fee campaign, and it showed that in closed environment, like in Chulalongkorn University, when they start charging 2 baht about 18 months ago, they have been saving over 2 million plastic bags already. And the rate of plastic usage has dropped more than 80%, I think 85% to be exact. So there's already some example, here in Thailand. Okay, I'm gonna pass the, also some maybe, so I think for Thai, you encourage, you're trying to give incentive. If you bring your own cup, you give discount of say 10 cents, But instead, there's I think in UK, some university, you sell the coffee without the cost of the cup, right? So instead of reduction, if you want a cup, you have to pay 10 cents extra. And that's very effective in terms of the mind of the customer, something like that. So to end with, again, same message with Dr. Thorn, kids are 25% of population, but they are 100% of our future. So it's actually, the future is in their hand, and I think they will learn that, and we hope that the next generation will not know the term single-use plastic, because it will go extinct, hopefully, before our well and gone.
Okay, thank you, Pat. I just would like to conclude that before 50 years ago, we don't know any plastic in Thailand. We use banana leaf forever. After that, we found petroleum in the Gulf of Thailand, and then we use it in my generation. And then when we got a very cheap plastic, we got a lot of petroleum from the Gulf of Thailand, and then we have the Eastern Seaboard, and then we produce a lot of plastic. We are the producer of the plastic in Asia, and also Thai people are very familiar with plastic because, as you know, we are like shopping to eat to whatever. So plastic is becoming one of very essential tool of life and lifestyle. I worked in this campaign for many years, and 5 years ago, I'm talking about try to do something that can talk plastic free. If you want it, you pay for it. Nobody listens to me. I check for in the office or something. It's less than 1% that support my idea to sell. They said is a seller that you must provide the plastic bag with your goods or something like that. But the campaign, everything changed now. We just do the survey at the Enco building. If you walk outside of this hotel, look across the Vipavadi Road, you will see a lot of building there. It's a Ministry of Energy, and also the PTT office, and also a lot of people in that office. We just do the survey for more than 600 officers who work in that building. We found that more than 20% accept and would like to pay for their plastic bag. It's very advanced. We go into something like the pet talk, but people understand more and willing. We need their will. We don't need a regulation. We need the willing, and then we can start something like the Jula started Jula Zero Waste. The head of the program also in this room. Also, if you would like to talk to him, he is behind. So you can see that now we are very concerned. We are very alert to do something. 50 restaurants might be 500 restaurants if you ask me to help and pay for me in a few weeks. And also like a cafe, Amazon, you see, a very broad cafe. I talked to them many years, try to give them the idea that if you bring your cup, you will reduce. At last, they listen. And then now that if you go to cafe Amazon with your cup is 5 baht, that they can reduce. It's much, because 5 baht in Thailand, cafe Amazon sell the cup only 50 baht. 5 baht is mean 10% of your coffee. It's different. And cafe Amazon have 2,000 brands in Thailand, and Cambodia and Laos. So we can reduce at least maybe 100 million of the plastic cup per year. So if we can move forward something like that, make a private organization understand, make every restaurant, coffee shop understand, make it like a branding for next generation. If you do something like that, if you do something like it is good. I just would like to conclude that the world before we talking about from good to great, bigger, build a big company, get a lot of income. But now it's changed already. It's from great to good. People don't care that how much income your company earn, but they care what you do, good thing to the social environment. It's change all the aspect, not too good from too great, but from great to good, do the good thing. So it's your turn. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Ton, for the invitation and for the opportunity to share for this already very interesting conversation we're having. So what I will try to do is to just give a brief overview of what is happening at the European Union level, which ticks many of the boxes and the issues that we've discussed up to today. The core, let's see, for marine litter, as we are discussing till now, is plastics. And so let's say that one of the key elements of our approach is the plastic strategy, which we adopted in January this year. It is important to stress that it looks at plastics specifically, but it's very much an integral part of the Circular Economy Action Plan that the European Union adopted in 2015. I think many have said it before, but I would like to stress it again, that it's really not just it's really not just about changing our relationship with plastics, which is, for instance, one of the goals of our awareness campaign, but it's really also changing the way our economy conceives the way it works. So more circularity, and plastics, of course, in this plays a very key role. So the strategy builds on four main pillars. So one is to improve the economics and the quality of plastics and of plastics recycling. So the idea is to have better design, better production, more durability, more reusability, and plastic that is easier to recycle, in the sense that today, way too often, there are products that are made of many different elements, made of many different kinds of plastics, and this creates a lot of problems when it comes to the sorting and the recycling. At the same time, also looking at the recycling sector, so to improve it, to make it more efficient and effective, and also work with the industry and the private sector to move into the reuse of plastic. So to look at it from an economic point of view as a resource that there is still a lot to give in some cases, not in every case, of course, but that can still be reused, so that there is an economic gain, because it is still a valuable resource for production, but also that by reusing it and by having a more circular approach, we're also saving in terms of losses in tourism, in the environmental sector, eventually, in the fisheries sector, and eventually in human health, if as we hear so much, it really gets back into our tables, and it really has potential harmful effects for human health. So this is the first element. So really looking at the economics, at the quality of the design, working with the industry and the private sector in a period that, also following what we were saying before, there is a hearing willingness also from industry and private sector. We have started a pledge, so we have asked in the European Union level, and then of course is with the member states that we work for the achievement of this, but pledges from private sector and industry on what they are ready to do, what is the low-hanging fruit that they can achieve, and how they can work together and invest into new technology that would advance this agenda. And there has been positive feedback, which, for instance, the textile industry has decided to invest in looking at how it is possible for them to reduce the microplastics that can then be released into water once our garments are washed, and how to improve the quality of the fabrics that they use. So this is definitely like an important element, because as I mentioned, as I said before, it is very much a click, like a switch, a difference in approach, not only in the everyday use of the plastic bottle, but really in the way we conceive our economy. The second point is curb plastic litter and waste. So here is really about public awareness, our habits, changing the way we, changing our relationship with plastic. We have this campaign that says, are you ready to change your relationship with plastic? So the fact that it's so easy to use, a plastic bottle is used, I think, for like a maximum amount of 12 minutes and then it's discarded. Being more aware of our everyday actions and like how we can reduce what is how can I say, what is an extra, so something that can really be substituted with something else. The important point here, I think, is it's not a war on plastic. Like, it's not, we're not saying that plastic should be banned completely, and I think this is shared also by partner countries around the world, because I mean, plastic has represented great advance in many areas for us. 50 years ago, exactly, there was no plastic, but there is been in the pharmaceutical, in the medical, in the food safety sectors, there's been advancement. So what we have to think of instead is really like what is superfluous, what is not needed, what is really just used for a split of a second and then it's discarded, and there's no way that it can be collected, reused, or recycled up to now. Which leads to the third pillar, which is really driving investment and innovation through our circular economy. So what we think is important is that, again, because we want a change in the economic model to a certain extent, we have to invest into research. So we have a very comprehensive funding for research in general, which is called Horizon 2020. The academics here definitely know it. And so more and more funds will actually look at this. So we're looking at what we said before, better plastic alternatives in the specific sectors, better technology for recycling, better technology for sorting, and for reusing in a number of sectors. Last but not least, harness global action, which is one of the reasons why I'm here. So I represent the European Union, but I'm not from the Directorate General that deals with this issue. Chiefly is the DG Environment, a bit like the European Union Ministry for Environment, which has actually worked on this with the Directorate General for Trade, for Growth, Innovation. So it's really it's really an effort from different fields. It's not solely environmental. So my role here, I represent, I work for an instrument that works for partnership with countries, building on key foreign policy goals that we have. So we feel that in this field it is important to partner up, to strengthen the relationship that we have with countries that want to work on this issue, that they see the importance for this. You saw before the videos from the United Nations Environmental Program. Those are, I saw, I was not aware, but it was a Switch Asia below, which is one of our programs for switching, so for supporting a switch to more sustainable production and consumption under SDG 12. And so here, what we are looking at, there are two programs that I would like to mention. One, which will work with 7 countries in Asia, so China, Japan, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam, on different points. So fostering dialogue, continuing the dialogue. So events like this one and opportunities for really seeing and exchanging what is going on, what are the priorities, how the strategies they are implementing are developed, how they're taken by the public and exchanged. So at different levels, of course, but also like working on single-use plastic, extended producer responsibility schemes, refund and deposit schemes, and green procurement, particularly for Japan and Singapore. And so really trying to work together and find common points. Also because going back to the point of the economy, nowadays value chains, supply chains are global. So we need to work together. We need to understand how a measure that is taken in Europe, for instance, if we come up with a standard for the plastic that we use and we want to import, how is this going to impact, this is an example, how is this going to impact our trade and our economic relations with other countries. And another one that I want to mention, which is managed directly by Jakarta, is a program that works with ASEAN, so with the secretariat, and it's really like union to union, community to community. So again, like how like an institution like the European Union works, how the ASEAN works, what we can exchange, what we can learn, what we can think of doing together. And the ASEM Forum very much fits into this because it's all part of the same, let's say, institutional structure that then at the working level needs to have some meat on the bones. Two last things that I would like to mention in terms of concrete examples. So one of the very first things, way before 2 years before the plastic strategy, was the plastic bag directive. So this was a directive that put a limit on the amount of plastic bags per person that citizens of the 28 member states of the European Union have to use every year. So there was a limit to was it 90? Yeah, 90 by next year, 2019, and 40 by 2026. So this was the rule, and the rule. I mean, it's also built on some actions that member states already took. So the classic example is Ireland, and Ireland in 2002 had a problem with plastic litter, and basically found that 5% of the total of the marine litter was for plastic bags, and decided to start having a levy. This levy was really like, I think it was 0.15 cents of a euro, so minor. But first of all, I mean, it was not extremely well received at first. But then it became, but then the Irish government decided to go ahead with it, and the result in 1 year was incredible. So from 328 plastic bags per year, they went down to 19 in just 1 year. This, I mean, being a levy, it required enforcement from, strong enforcement. So you had like tax officials going to check that shops were implementing this regulation, but in the end, this had a change on the impact of plastic litter, which went down from 5% to 0.05%. But then also it increased support. So when statistics showed that the number of plastic bags had increased, the state increased the rate and there was absolute support for it. So now I think it's 0.22 cents over euro, one plastic bag in Ireland. And the levy, this is something important of their approach, goes into an environmental fund. So the money that is collected from the plastic bags goes into research, goes into best waste management, and so it's really used for what it's supposed to support. Germany is another example. I'll be just brief, just to show that, and this is interesting for the ASEAN conversation, I think, just to say that when you have a directive, then member states can decide how to go about it. So Ireland decided to go with the levy and decided to structure this. In Germany, also because of its institutional setup to pass a law, it's a federal state, you need like different actors to be involved, different controls. So it would have been extremely long, let's say. So the federal state, the Ministry of Environment, decided to address the issue directly with the trade association, the Retail Trade Association, who took it up. So 60% of the members of the Retail Trade Association decided to participate voluntarily. And so 60% of the total plastic bags is covered, so basically now you have to pay also in Germany, which covers 2 billion plastic bags per year. So it is a big, let's say, coverage, and the impact is that there's still no data on this, I believe, but the idea is that there is a reduction, but there's also like a switch to more sustainable, bags or alternatives. And so I know that there's not a lot of time, but the last point that I wanted to say, and this goes into public opinion, public awareness, and what we can do ourselves. It is important that yes, we take action, but also that that options are given. So this is why it is important that there are directives, there are laws, there are legislations in this sense. So the latest thing for us in the European Union is this proposal that was just done a couple of months ago on the single-use ban. Single-use ban of 10 products, including fishing gear. This is something today I heard that there was a lot of stress on land-based, but also sea-based is important because actually almost 1/3 is from sea-based, and these are products that are highly recyclable and where basically really there's not a lot of infrastructure. So it could be like to work on this sector. It is important, especially also for marine life, because a lot of this is discarded, is lost, is in the sea, and creates damage to the ecosystems and to the wildlife. But also, it's also an important point to work on. It's not only land-based, but also the sea-based should be taken into account. But the 10 products that we've seen, and they've been selected because there's been a study on 17 countries of the European Union, 300 plus beaches, and then cross-checked with data from litter from other years. And it's basically, it's the carton bags, the plastic cutlery, the 6-foot balloons, the food container, a lot of the stuff that is here, which is the same litter that we find everywhere in the world. So this really shows how it's a common problem. So we have it on our beaches as Asian countries and African countries and Latin American countries have it. So it's a further reminder of the importance of working together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I just conclude very short that it's very important for the economy. We have to think about the innovation. We have to go together. We cannot ban all the plastic because it will really impact a lot of people. So we go together. Innovation is important. Like what I wear now, all is from upcycling. My sneaker, my T-shirt is from Simbato. This one, or even this one is from PTTGC. They build from plastic, from this upcycling the plastic from the sea, from cotton. Mm-hmm. I plan to do this many years. but it's very expensive. The problem we waited it when it will be reduced. Why the recycle or upcycling plastic is more expensive than the normal plastic? That is the way that we try to make it. We have to go forward to reduce the price. Okay, so it's your time, please.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Namon International from Faculty of Law at Massachusetts University. I have to say that I want to make a disclaimer because I'm not an expert in the plastic issue. But for the past 8 years, I have a privilege and a very good opportunity provided by an Antonio Foundation to pursue my studies in international law, obviously mainly on protection of the marine life from land-based activities. So basically what I'm speaking today is the result of my 8-year research in the UK and in a bit of Germany. Let's setting the agendas first. I'm talking about, well, I'm a lawyer, so I can talk for days. That is frustrates a lot of people. I'll try to be brief, and I'm starting with some points in law weaknesses emphasized in perhaps international law, the sea, and the regulation of marine debris and plastic, mainly from land-based sources. And then I'll try to see what is the current developments in the law, and that will actually result in how can we set an agenda, so to result in how we construct or set up the policies and the ways forward for dealing with or the management of the plastic issues. So speaking from the legal aspect, internationally, there seems to be the only one international convention globally to address the pollution from land-based activity, including plastic, which is the UNCLOS. Unfortunately, there are only 2 provisions in that, 207 and 213, dealing with land-based pollution. And it says very general, in general terms, saying states have to adopt law and regulation to prevent, reduce, and control pollution from land-based activities or sources. For the 30 years that we have on class, that seems to be the problem, because states saying, what should we do about it? We know we have to prevent, we have to reduce, we have to control pollution from land-based activities. Plastic is the case, but how? There's no actually no content, substantive content in the law. Well, my research says not. There's 30 years on, and we have lots of subsequent practices internationally, regionally that can formalize or concretize the substance of this, but let me be brief and try to get to the point. If you look at the content mainly of how we deal and manage plastic from land-based sources, actually in the GBA, the Global Program of Action for the Protection of the Marine Life of Land-based Activities, was actually set up a very nice guideline and action plan for states to act internationally, regionally, or nationally to deal with certain source categories of land-based pollution. Plastics is actually part of the so-called marine litters or marine debris. The problem with the regulation of plastic that I can see from, this is my personal opinion, so what I can see from that is that firstly, the GPA itself is not a binding instrument. And when something is not binding, it's quite compulsory state to say, oh, I agree with this, but the action is something that we don't want to talk about. But fortunately, the GBA and the Intergovernmental Review Forum seem to be very active in how we deal with that. So we have already mentioned that we have the Global Partnership for Marine Litters that already also partly deals and with the lots of projects on plastic. But I think one of the fundamental problems about the regulation of plastic through the GBA is that the way in which they categorize source categories is a bit of a problem and concern, because they separate the plastic from its origins, which is hydrocarbon, which is a particular source categories in the GBA. And when you talk about hydrocarbons internationally, we're usually thinking about those accidental tanker or oil spillage, one of the deep horizons in the Caribbean perhaps could be a very good example. But we never talk about limits of production. And that seems to be the case with plastic. While we're trying to address plastic problems, the oil-based plastic has never been limited. And that seems to, and they separate from each other according to the GBA, while you can deal a lot with perhaps the results of the problem, never address the cost. And that seems to be one of the point that I want to highlight, that there seems to be a problem in there. Given the state of the art of the law, what can we do? I think since the agenda of this workshop is actually to set up the plan and what we can learn from our neighboring countries or others, members of the international communities. A lot has been going on actually in Europe, perhaps to mention the OSPA Regional C program, the Baltic Regional C program, or even the Mediterranean Regional C program. They have already set up about quite a few documents, especially the action plans on marine litters, that not only focus on the monitoring of the problem, but also have the forums and try to develop best practices on waste management, as well as how to do the information and practice sharing among the members of the program. And that actually can help raise not only awareness but also the qualities of the environment in terms of the way in which you want your environment to be better and free from plastic. Coming back from there to Asia seems to be quite a bit of a problem, because internationally you see the awareness of plastic has already been raised. The United Nations Environmental Assembly has already have a resolution on plastic last year already, saying that we have to do something about it, and that is urgent action needs to be taken. But comparing these issues with other marine environmental problems, there seems to be a fundamental difference here. For example, like if I compare plastic issues with the need or the demands to the utilization of biodiversity beyond national jurisdictions. In that particular resolution, they say we need or we want to have a treaty for the utilization of biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, basically the high sea or the deep sea bed. But when it comes to plastic, where states or international community, single states, each and every single state has to pay instead of gain from the matters, that seems to be quite reflect a very, very good tragedy of commons. Well, and also compared to the climate change regimes, fortunately that we breathe the air, that actually it's easier for us to get to some agreement and to deal with the qualities of the air and the climate. But when it's come to marine or oceans problem, we don't breathe water. And that seems to be the inconvenient or ugly truth of this, because when it's come to plastic, it's not one bottle that creates the problems, but a very, very unique problem of marine debris and plastic issues is it's a problem, it's a pollution by accumulation. Legally, one bottle of plastic cannot create significant harms that will trigger lots of obligations in the international law, but it's accumulations of plastic, and the problem, we don't really know how much will trigger that breather threshold. And that seems to be something that international community have to work on. But given the fact that there's quite a lot of ambiguities in law here, what we can do is for the way forward in dealing with it, I think there's two things can be done. It's, to borrow the term using in the climate change regime, is the mitigation actions and adaptation actions, perhaps. Starting with mitigation action, states has already been implemented lots of a range of measures that are dealing with this. Ban is one of the options, levies is one of the options, and also the recycling system. I really like the bottle recycling systems in Germany, which is creates lots of new, perhaps, jobs for people. Actually, there are lots of people that just only doing for, looking for plastic bottles just to get into the system and get those coupons out, and that really help states in order to take care of the environment. It's very, very nice. But the only mitigation problem seems not to be effective. It's effective in certain communities where awareness and the collective awareness of the social responsibilities has already been established. But when it's come to developing countries, I really like to use the examples of Thailand where we have less of developing collective social responsibilities. It is quite difficult to use those mitigation measures to achieve the management, a good management, effective management of plastic problem. But perhaps, if from the legal perspective, I think to draw up the policies, the measures used to address plastic problem, perhaps one of the ultimate objective of these measures of the policy have to create the society change, a behavioral change. And so far, I'm not sure why, because I know that there are a lot of politics going on behind, that we cannot adopt those behavioral change measures. Not sure why we want to tackle plastic problem, reduce the plastic use. And unfortunately, if the government still being major shareholders in the producers, I'm not sure how we can do it. Like we close the right eye and then we still look at from the left eye. And that seems to be a way that they need some more, perhaps not only just public participation, but political, really constructive political will to address this. And just to conclude, perhaps, is mitigation programs, mitigation measures has already been established. A lot lesson can be done, especially for Europe, into our societies in Thailand. But I think the adaptation problem hasn't been addressed so much. In Thailand, as far as I can remember, we take 3 years to encourage people to automatically, when they come into the car, have their safety belt on. We have never seen any kind of campaign from the public, as far as I can aware, for the couple of years concerning plastic, or any attempts constructively to change the behavior. So I think that sides have to be emphasized in the policies and plan. Law is just only one of the measures that can be used. And I think if what is to be the focus, it seems to be this one for our society. So that's my case.
Thanks a lot. You conclude yourself, so I have nothing to do. But it's very good. And when I listen to anything about law, I feel sleepy. Very good, very good. Don't worry. Your idea will be proposed to the government and to the region. Okay, at last, fish. Yeah, fish. I like fish. Fish is better than law. Sorry.
สวัสดีครับ Hello everyone, my name is Nathud Kasem. I'm from Environmental Justice Foundation, EJF. EJF is a non-profit organization based in London, but we work a lot with the Thai local governments. I'm here today to share some of our projects that we implement with the Thai local government, but I will not go into detail since I'm very happy. So yeah, but my agenda today is I would like to show you the linkages. Is that many different government agencies doing the good thing, but since this section is about the roadmap, I try to show that how we can work together since we have the same goal and we have the we try to implement the roadmap. Why we not going together since this is our the same goal already. I have 3 projects that I would like to share with the section. First of all is the fishing net recycling. According to the global study, 10% of the marine debris is the old fishing gear. The old fishing gear is be left in the ocean because of sometimes the fisher didn't know how to manage them. Sometimes they is left in the ocean by accident, like the fishing nets that recently the green turtle is stuck in the old fishing net. That is one of example that how the old fishing net is very dangerous in the ocean. So we should try to eliminate them and manage them. EJF and Department of Fishery come together. We call it the program in the fishing net recycling. The project is since the fishermen did not know how to manage with a fishing net, we will be the one that collect all the fishing nets from the fisherman and bring to the one that who is the expert who know how to dealing with the fishing net. We need the nylon nets. This is one of the project that EGF and DOF Department of Fisheries is trying to working together. The second one is about the power trawler. As you some of you might aware, Thailand had an issue about the overfishing. Basically, the overfishing issue is about the Thailand have the huge fishing fleet. They and the Royal Thai government try to reduce the fishing fleet 50%, or maybe the number is debatable. But how we can reduce those fishing fee like the 50%? The point is the Thai National Fishing Association come with the project they call like the buyback scheme. It means if Royal Thai government want to reduce the fishing fee, you have to subsidy and buy back of the old vessel from the Thai fisher. But the thing is, at some point, ECF is sitting in the room with the Royal Thai government, and we found out that Thai Royal government planning to buy like the DB collector ship. We need like the high qualified ship like the Euro standard, which is very expensive. And now we have to reduce the power trawler like the over 900 power trawler need to be sink to the bottom of the sea for the home of the marine animal or the reef. Why we just not combine it together? The thing is, we have the same goal. Why we not combine together? The project that in EGF proposed to the Royal Thai government at this point is since the power trawler in some case it's some of you might not familiar with, it will be two of the vessel and it connect together with the fishing net and go to the harvest the animal. But since we have to destroy it anyway, why we expect the cost later than buying the new DB collector ship, why we not use the own fishing net, the paddler, to be the one that collect the marine DB. And I just realized from the DMCR, the Department of Marine and Coastal Resource, they already do the research, and they said that the JIDA satellite, sometimes they can capture the image of the garbage pack. It's really very huge from the satellite. And I sit down and talk with the Thai fisher that why do you have to spend money with the satellite technology? You just ask me that where is the garbage pack? Where is this? Because of they come with the local knowledge. They say that some time of the year, like the seasonal, the storm it will happen in the Andaman side, and the garbage patch will happen in the Andaman side. Sometimes when the storm happen in the Thai Gulf side, the garbage patch it will happen in the Thai Gulf side. You just tell me that if you know how to manage it. When I found it, when I doing the fishing, I will tell you and call you to come and manage it. So we combine it together, and we come with this project that we are planning to implement very soon. And the last one is about the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights. Thailand is the same as with the different countries that are on the state of the drafting the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights. That try to in line with the UN guiding principle on business and human rights that we have to plan. We are aware of, each are aware of that the MCR is installed the boom at the River Mouth, try to doing the research. Since we are aware of that, some of the marine DB come from the land-based activity. So if we can doing like the graduate research, and if we found out that some of the business that maybe selling the food with the nice packaging, and at the end of the day, the packaging is come to see. If we will bring that kind of the package and talk with the business, you cannot just selling and have no response on your packaging. If we can come and ask them to take the responsibility on how you design your packaging, and you would have to be the one that consider the environment perspective all the way to not at the end of your shop, but at the end of the life circle of your product. This is the last project that I would like to mention. So.
Very good. Yeah, like fish. Anyway, but it's very important. You can talk to a guy in the follow there. A lot of DMC tell them that you can grab the plastic or not or whatever. But don't worry about your vessel. We have money. We buy it as I concern. But you can talk to them. And it's very important for the framing. This is also from something that they're talking about. I think there are two private big. Huge, largest in Thailand that wait for you can talk to them during the lunchtime. It's your target. Don't worry, they will get your fisherman net for free. And produce a very expensive product for us. Don't do too much economy. Make it cheap first and less the money later. Anyway, so we don't have time. Sorry guys, we don't have time for you to repeat the second as I concerned, because all of us are very hungry now. But we would like to eat some microplastic now. But anyway, if you guys in the room have anything to share with us, or we can share during lunch time or whatever, we still be there. And I would like to mention that our schedule are very well prepared. We get the first highlight, people to talk, speak in the morning, and then we come to something like us here. And in the afternoon will be rich people, very important. Big, huge company, a lot of money in that company come together and talk about what they plan, innovation, and what they plan. That is very important. Rich people, we should listen to rich people. Is a main concept for the environmentalists as far as I'm concerned. But don't worry, we also have a villager flying direct from Maya Bay, because I closed the Maya Bay, so they don't have shopping to do. So they fly to here and talk about what they will do in what they are doing on PP Island, the very famous. Maya now is closed. But it will reopen, don't worry. But the big villager from PP Island will try to tell you, all of you, that what they do in the very small island that have more than 2.5 million overseas visitors, with maybe 1 million is from Europe. So you can know that your campaign work only in Europe, or if European people come to Thailand, they'll still be have like good people or not. It's very important. Not only you have to beat the plastic, not only in your land, but you have to carry on to Thailand. We have 40 million overseas visitors this year. So please help. Okay, so nobody would like to talk anything? Yes, good, very good. Oh, not hungry. Okay, go ahead. Your microphone is over there, please.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Very interesting stuff. Ajahn Thong, you mentioned that when you were younger, there was a lot of use of bamboo leaves,
Yes.
and still something that you see nowadays as well, though often you see the bamboo leaves inside plastic bags.
Yeah.
But how do you think that you can build on the pride and confidence of the beautiful Thai traditions of using natural resources, biodegradable by bio-design, by its natural design? And how do you think we can use the pride to actually, instead of saying you're bad, you use plastic, to get Thai people to be proud of their past and continue to use those instead of maybe focusing too much on innovation instead of looking to the past?
This
It's very important. This is what I would like to see. We use the innovation together with something in mind, and you must stay in the afternoon because that private sector are working a lot in bioplastic, and what they will tell us what they are working on in the bioplastic innovation or whatever. They have to share and tell them many times. The private organization, the big company, they have to share. They cannot survive. You cannot survive in the world like this. The world that people are thinking about to see total about whatever, about to see about the future. Our mind are changed. They are the producer. If the consumer change the mind, they have to change it, or else they will die. So what I try to tell them, and they will tell us in this afternoon that what is that trend, what they try to survive is the bioplastic, something like that. You tell what they are thinking, but we have to push them more. We are consumers. We are the most important people in the world for their company. If we say something, they will change faster than they think.
Can I add something?
No. Yes.
I think many people want to change that the bottom line is still the cost because the plastic is so cheap, right? So I think that's something government can help making sure that it subsidize the right material, and I think I totally agree because in Thailand we are lucky to have to be in the tropic, right? We have so many species that can be utilized for that thing. Banana leaves, bamboo is fast growing, is totally biodegradable. So yeah. It can be cheap, and it can also promote local economy as well, because instead of centralize the production of this packaging, that we can be centralized with the local community and link it with the agriculture sector.
It's very important. It's very good. You look very young. So we try to do, but in Thailand, the first thing we have to see, but we hate policy. I hate policy. They have a lot of regulations. I'm reading and I feel sleepy. We have to do something that we can see it. We see like a bag, see like something like that. Make it go forward and forward. We do have to help. I think that we have a lot of time to eat something and talk during we eat and talk is very good and brighten your brain. But remember, not in the afternoon that we will have a lot of things to do. And don't forget to help us a little bit. Put anything, your name, your whatever in here, so we can have something to put it together. Because the outcome is a paper. I hate it, but it's a paper anyway. It's a paper, so help us a little bit to put it together and we address it. We go together. Oh, the last thing, we cannot do that because we have to buy some satellite information from Europe. So a fisherman can help, but we still have to buy a satellite information from satellite data from Europe, or else we will have a lot of conflict in our relationship. Okay, thank you everybody, and we can talk during the live chat or exchange every program. And as I would like to say, this is very interesting. I have been talking about the plastic pollution, marine debris for many years. This is very interesting. Can do very good that Mariana gives us a lot of idea. Law from you, because it's a very good law is very important. And fishermen, and we get a lot of idea like a fisherman have a joy together, have not really catch a fish but take care of the sea. It's a very important and they will help. Okay. Thank you everybody, and our MC will give us the way to eat the free lunch. Okay, thank you. Thank you everybody. Thank you for all the attention and thank you very much.